The third dive was the dive, because that dive, we landed at the entrance to the grand staircase between the number 1 and number 2 stacks.
Titanic explorer Robert Ballard has revealed something he had long kept hidden beneath the waves before his time runs out. The man who discovered the most well-known shipwreck in history held secrets for decades that went beyond rusty steel and shattered chandeliers. Not only does what he ultimately disclosed alter our perception of Titanic, it also alters our perception of him. This is more than just a tale of discovery. It's about the ghosts of the depths, confession, and legacy. The Titanic was Ballard's ultimate prize. Robert Ballard was only a young child who couldn't stop staring at the sea. Long before he became the figure associated with the Titanic, Ballard was almost ironically drawn to water after being born in 1940 in Wichita, Kansas, a landlocked city that is as distant from the sea as it can go. Later, his family relocated to San Diego, California, where he finally saw the Pacific Ocean. Vast and unknown, the youngster who had previously dreamed of adventure and studied maps was now living next to a huge, enigmatic universe that would determine his future. Ballard was methodical, in contrast to many explorers who haphazardly enter the past. He went after it. Before joining the U.S., he attended the University of California, Santa Barbara, to study geology and chemistry, Army Reserve at an early age. He went on to get a PhD in marine geology and geophysics at the University of Rhode Island. After completing a master's degree in geophysics, he was motivated by more than just academic curiosity. Ballard aimed to reveal the Earth's hidden chapters and demonstrate that the oceans were more than just bodies of water. Rather, they were enormous, unexplored repositories of planetary secrets and human history. However, this is where Ballard differed from other oceanographers. The lab bench and microscope weren't enough for him. He desired technology, cameras, and machines. What no one else had ever seen was what he wanted to see. Ballard started experimenting with robotic submersibles in the 1970s. While others were happy to publish articles, he was envisioning machines that could descend to terrifying depths, where no human diver could survive. Ballard realized that discovery was nothing if you couldn't take the world with you. So he combined his talents as a scientist, engineer, and entertainer. He would become both a renowned hero and a contentious figure as a result of his ambition and theatrics. He was occasionally referred to as haughty by his co-workers. His admirers referred to him as clever. The reality? He was both. Being modest won't get you to the Titanic. Ballard had established a solid name in the field of marine science by the early 1980s. Deep-sea hydrothermal vents, where hot water poured from fissures in the Earth's crust to create alien-like habitats no one believed were possible, were among the places he had investigated. These findings fundamentally altered biology by demonstrating that life could exist without sunshine. However, those accomplishments seldom registered with the general public. While the general public shrugged, scientific journals praised him. Ballard desired more. He desired a finding that would enthrall everyone. Now let's talk about Titanic. Since hitting an iceberg and plunging into the Atlantic with almost 1,500 people on board, on April 15, 1912, the ship had been lying in darkness. People conjectured about its precise location for decades. Dreams of treasure hunters of stealing it. Filmmakers dreamed of pulling it up out of the abyss. However, nobody had ever really located it. There are many ships in the huge ocean, and the Titanic was just one of them. Some said that trying to find it was as ridiculous as trying to find a single needle in a haystack, the size of a continent. Ballard, however, saw the Titanic as more than just a shipwreck. It was the final phase. You would not only create history if you found it, but you would also become it. Ballard wasn't merely pursuing science when he started to seriously study the Titanic. His goal was to become famous. Later on, he acknowledged that he was looking for something memorable, something that would leave his name indelibly on the public's mind. And it becomes clear that Titanic was more than simply a mission. When you consider how his career developed later on, including TV documentaries, books, talks, and even children's shows, it has to do with branding. This is the reason Robert Ballard is such an intriguing person. He was more than just a nameless Navy contractor or a scientist in a lab coat. He was an entertainer with a preacher's cadence. He could stand in front of a camera and sell the deep sea as destiny rather than just statistics. He was able to establish teams, secure funds, and advance projects that others believed were unattainable because of his charisma. He might never have approached the Titanic without it. Ballard was not merely a man who happened upon history. When he eventually laid eyes on the notorious catastrophe in 1985, he had spent years honing his skills, his team, and his reputation. He was a man who had carefully positioned himself. He was prepared for the occasion. He also knew just how to use it. The surprise is that the Titanic mission wasn't precisely what it seemed. Something Ballard would not disclose for decades and the public was unaware of. It wasn't just about finding out. History wasn't the only topic. It was about secrets, government, and military secrets that would not be revealed until much later. And those mysteries alter our perception of the guy who claimed the Titanic as his catastrophe. The Navy never wanted you to know this aspect of the narrative, which no one anticipated. The Titanic's discovery and the covert mission that led to it, according to the narrative. The world changed forever on September 1st, 1985. The RMS Titanic wreck was discovered more than 2 miles below the North Atlantic. According to a statement made by Robert Ballard and his Franco-American team, the headlines shouted victory. After more than 70 years in the dark, the greatest ship ever built had been found again. Ballard was praised by everyone as the man who had accomplished the seemingly impossible. However, the public remained unaware of the mysterious history behind this revelation. Ballard didn't only go looking for the Titanic. In actuality, he was operating under the auspices of the United States Navy. The Navy had given him a highly classified job before Titanic even happened, to find and inspect the USS Thresher and USS Scorpion, to nuclear submarines that had sunk during the Cold War. The military wanted to discover if the Soviets had tampered with the wrecks, or if they were leaking nuclear material. Ballard's cutting-edge remote-operated vehicles, or OVs, and submersibles were ideal for the task. However, the Navy was unable to publicly declare that it was searching the ocean floor for nuclear secrets. Ballard then suggested to them that he had a search for the Titanic. Following the submissions were finished by him, the media would concentrate on that rather than the Navy's clandestine activities. If he discovered it, the Navy concurred. Essentially, the Titanic was the ideal cover narrative. Therefore, the public only saw the stunning find when the cameras rolled and the news stories circulated. They were blind to the classified reports, the submarine surveys, and the military diversions. Although Ballard gained notoriety as the man who found Titanic, he was also the one who protected one of the Navy's most delicate Cold War operations. For many years, that aspect of the narrative remained hidden. Some were shocked when Ballard eventually came clean years later. For others, it merely made things more mysterious. What does it indicate that the most well-known shipwreck in the world was rediscovered through a Cold War deal rather than through purely scientific means? It presents the Titanic's second life as more of a geopolitical mishap than a fairy tale. But even with their secret beginnings, the photos from that dive in 1985 will never be forgotten. Uncannily intact, the bow of the Titanic rose out of the shadows like a ghost. The railings remained in place. The anchor chains remained wound. The submersible that slithered along the ship's hull was dwarfed by its enormous size. The team realized without a doubt that this was it when they discovered one of the boilers, which was exactly like those in Olympic, the sister ship of the Titanic. For Ballard, it was a time of both personal validation and professional success. He had bet that his instincts, perseverance, and technology would bring him to ruin, and now he knew he had guaranteed his legacy as he gazed over the remnants of the Titanic. Through a blurry video feed, the globe was captivated by the video. The unsettling pictures of the ship, which had been trapped in memory since 1912, were aired by news organizations. Students looked on with wonder. The survivors shed tears. People with no interest in oceanography suddenly developed an obsession with a rusty wreck. Located 2 miles beneath the surface of the ocean, Ballard evolved from a scientist, but also a celebrity, the public face of a breakthrough that cut across boundaries and fields. The irony is that Ballard already knew the mysteries hidden beneath his moment of triumph. He was aware that Titanic was a smokescreen as well as just a scientific finding, and maybe that's why he talked about it with a mixture of pride and reluctance in subsequent years. Pride, since he had discovered what others were unable to. He felt ambivalence because he was aware that the mission had never been as pure as the people thought. The Titanic account by Ballard is so captivating because of this contradiction. On the surface, it appears to be the most significant finding in contemporary marine history. However, when the layers are removed, it becomes a story of Cold War intrigue, compromise, and concealment. In addition to being a lost ship, the Titanic served as the ideal distraction for a Navy that was desperately trying to conceal its true intentions in the Atlantic dot in the end. Robert Ballard didn't just find the Titanic, he uncovered his own truth. The wreck was more than history. It was a cover, a secret buried beneath the waves for decades. His greatest discovery wasn't only about a ship lost to time, but about the hidden depths of loyalty, deception, and legacy. Some secrets sink, others rise when their time finally comes.